Hello YouTube, thank you for watching my round 2 with BY Luffy. I'm piloting BY Luffy at my local event. Today I'm having some friendly fire, playing my buddy. Sitting across from me, he is piloting the purple Luffy, and he decided to go first, as purple Luffy does, and passes. And right here, I'm going to just search with Garb, and basically I'm just going to double search. I'm going to search with Garb and then use the Three Brother Bond event, just so I can dig for a Sabo to get the ball rolling. And right now I'm just in pain because I am bottom decking 2 Gekomorias. A huge win condition versus purple Luffy. Just digging down, and I do find the baby Sabo, but I'm just looking at my hand. I already have a baby Sabo in hand, so I grab the Luffy. So if my opponent decides not to swing into me, I can take my own life and become a AK body. And my opponent does what purple Luffy does and rams the Dawn, and he's at 4. And right here I get a little nervous, so I count, and I have 6 cards in hand. So him just tapping down just tells me he's not going to play the purple Law at this time, which is perfect, because if he would have swung 5, my monkey brain would have just took it, as I do here. And that is a blessing, finding a Gekomoria from the top of my life after bottom decking 2. And I'm just looking at my hand, and I don't have a lot of options. I don't play a lot of 4-drop characters, so I just start off with a 5k swing just to see how my opponent reacts. And he counters 2, and then I swing for 6. And he counters for another 2, and I pass. I do want to say my opponent did take a lot of time to think, but based on playing with him, he's a very thoughtful and methodical player in everything he does. So he decides to use his leader ability to ramp and to poly, just to ramp. And he just gives me a little poke with the leader, 5k, which I'm more than happy to take. And here he thinks about swinging 7. But like I said, my opponent is a very methodical player, and he's thinking about if he should or not. And I believe he just decides to pass. I'm chilling here with 6 Dawn, and I already know what I wanted to do. Just swing 6, hoping to get a 2k out of hand. And gives me a 2k. Love to see it. And then I play Monkey D. Luffy, so I can start to get down to 0. As my opponent is thinking, he asks me how many cards are in my hand, so at this time I'm just shuffling my hand, just anticipating the Law to come down to pull 2 cards from my hand and just make me really sad. And here it is, my opponent finally rips the band-aid off and plays the Law. And at this point, if he pulls 2 certain cards in my hand out, I genuinely thought about just scooping and calling it a day. But I was lucky where he pulls a Hiyori, a 2k, as well as another 2k. Not happy to see it, but if my opponent pulled the Gekomoria or the Sabo out of my hand, at that point I think I would have conceded. My opponent Magellans me which puts me back on the odd curve. So I can't get to 10 Dawn and do my with Jellin leader combo. I want to get to 0, but that's okay. I decide now just to play the Sabo, just so I can start digging and setting up my trash. And right here I think I misplayed, where I use the Luffy ability, pitching the Sabo, adding an ace to my hand, which isn't a big deal, because I can always grab the Sabo from trash into life. But I put myself in a really poor position where my leader is a 5k body. I have a blocker and I have 1 life, and my opponent has potentially 5 big swings. And if my opponent is able to recognize that I misplayed here and he goes for lethal or tries to go for game here, he can put me in a position where I run out of resources a lot faster than I wanted to be. But let's see if my opponent is able to identify my misplay, and that right now he's in a very strong position. And right here my buddy does swing 6 into my 8k Luffy, forgetting that I used his ability. I did try to let him take that move back, but my opponent, my buddy, is very big on integrity, and he was like, you know what, I misplayed. It's fine, and he decides to swing 8 with page 1. And at this point, I recognize that if he would have gone for game here or swung big at my face, I would have been in really big trouble. So I'm just trying to protect my Luffy. I understand that he's trying to get cards out of my hands, and I am not trying to die. So I just let it go because he has 2 more swings. I have 1 life and I have 1 blocker. So whatever he does, he cannot kill me or make me waste a lot of the cards in my hand. And at this point I recognize I'm going to be able to get down to 0 life safely. So next turn I'll be able to combo off with my leader ability. Unfortunately I am at 9 Dawn next turn, so I can't leader and Gecko, but getting down to 0 safely is going to let me still be able to do some pretty cool combos. My opponent decides to play a blocker and pass. I truly believe Purple Luffy is a tough matchup because the amount of blockers they have and big bodies where they can just go so wide and take so many cards out of your hand and put BY Luffy in a bad position. But at this point my opponent decides to slow it down and force me to get myself to 0. But I'm BY Luffy, so I can get to 0 on the dime, and I'm about to pop off with all the combos. Play ace. Oh, play baby ace. It would have been really embarrassing if I didn't have it. Oh, what's in my line? Oh, big ace. What? I'm a 7k leader. 3 more Dawn? What am I gonna do? Oh, leader ability? Pitch a card? What card to pitch? Probably a baby Sabo, because I am going to Gecko next turn. And then I'm gonna play another Sabo. The combo is well, I can't remember the pass. I guess I pitch a Luffy, but I'm sure I grab a Sabo from here. Yeah, I grab a Sabo and a Luffy. The reason why I grab the Sabo is because I'm gonna use the Sabo ability and make my leader 9k and be able to pitch cards. But the reason why I leave a Luffy there is because I'm going to Gecko next turn, and then I'm going to pull out the Luffy, and I can always stay at 1 life as well as taking that life and utilizing it as a board. So it's another potentially blocker, a pseudo blocker per se, just so I feel a little safe. My opponent decides to take the life and go to 0, and at this time, which is good for me, he has a handful of blockers, but this is a good opportunity for me to apply more pressure, just because he hasn't had the opportunity to play his big Kaido, and even if he does, my Sabos have been protecting my other bodies on board, so I'm in a pretty good position to be able to survive and apply more pressure with my follow-up turn. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. I just let the ace go, just so my opponent starts swinging at my face, and committing more Dawn to try to cause more damage to me. This play here is kind of crazy, where my opponent decides to X-drag me twice, making me go from 5 cards in hand to 3. And that's pretty scary because I was sitting very comfortably until he made me pitch 2 cards from my hand. But luckily, I had that Kikimoria to play, just so I can go off one more time and apply as much pressure as I can. Here I just bring the Luffy and ace, and I play the ace so I can be as aggressive as possible, using Luffy ability just to draw. Just because I have 2 blockers on board, I feel more confident, and because my card size is so low in hand, I just decided to draw. Here I swing 11k to face again, just to see what he does. My opponent blocks, and at this time I just swing 7 with ace. Initially I wasn't going to, but I want to put myself in a position to be able to win the following turn, so I'm just trying to apply as much pressure as possible, and he blocks and counters with a 2k, and I pass my turn. At this point, my opponent swings 9 at my face, which I just give him a 1k carp, and he spent 3 Dawn, and I'm recognizing that he might be thinking about going for game here, so he swings another 9, which I give him a 2k. My opponent has 4 Dawn left here, and he has 3 bodies, But unfortunately, I am at a 9k leader with 2 blockers up. Even though I have 1 card in hand, those blockers are giving me a lot of reassurance that I am probably going to survive this turn. And he decides to go 9 at ace, which I let go. And he passes. And at this point, he has 1 blocker up with 2 cards in hand, or 3 cards in hand. I'm going to start off by using Luffy ability of making Luffy an 8 king and swinging 9, and he blocks there. And I swing another 9, requiring him to pitch all 3 cards to be able to protect himself. And he thinks about it. He shows me a 2, shows me a 1 and a 2, and I jam for 14 for game.